So we're going to attempt to make this most interactive session because this is not a question for me. I'm safely employed at this point in time, and I don't think I have the courage to ever take up entrepreneurship. So this is not a question for me, but I think we are going to try to give you more data points for you to figure out the answer for yourself. Professor Rao, I'm so happy you're here because I feel like such a bold fuddy-duddy sitting between these two. I'm so happy that there's Professor Rao to give me some company. So I'm delighted to be here, delighted to be between youngsters who are obviously defining the course for the future of not only the planet, but more importantly for my India. So delighted to be here. You all know Aditya, obviously he's been an entrepreneur himself. And he's been one of you all some time back. So welcome back to the campus, Aditya. Pleasure to have you with us. See, this is what happens when parents name their child Nirman. Brilliant. Nirman at the age of 12. He told me that he wrote his first poem at the age of 12. I mean, at 12 I barely knew how to spell my name. So Nirman, absolutely wonderful to have you here. God bless you, and let's hope you don't run out of ideas by the time you're my age. Because you've started really early. Professor Rao, let the guys here and the girls, of course, see the other side of Professor Rao. Minus the electrical engineering and the voice recognition software, which I'm sure is not a boon for many students like, the gentleman who just introduced us. All of you give your proxies. I'm sure Professor Rao is not your best friend. But, we'll attempt to get the more lovable side of Professor Rao here. So, the point is that we've been given about 60 minutes. Okay? I suggest that the first 20 minutes or so we'll just give a little bit of structure around it, where I probably will ask a couple of questions and we'll have our three panelists answer. But thereafter I'd like to keep it absolutely open so that the questions that each of you have in your mind, you can actually articulate it and then get it from, get the answers from each of these people here. So, I'm looking at it from my point of view. I'm an employed person, so when you look at an employment, this is, I'm sure this is true for Professor Rao as well. We look at, employment as a definition of a contract between two entities. One, the employer, and the other, the employee, right? And in my definition in entrepreneurship, you write a contract with yourself, right? Because the employer is you and the employee is you and everybody else is you yourself, right? So I just wanted to know, what is it? What is it that made you take this plunge? It's like the chicken and egg story. Did you innovate an idea after you decided, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, I'm not going to report it to anybody else? Or did the idea come out and you said, I'm not going to sell this idea to anybody, but I'm going to do it myself? Aditya, would you like to go this first?
Sure. So it was a conscious decision. There was a conscious decision that, hey, I want to.
Is he audible there?
Yeah, so it was a conscious decision, but the jump, as in quitting the job and doing it, was completely illogical. There is no logic behind it. If you ask me, when I was doing the job, I had loans, I had EMIs, and do a startup. I'm not going to earn any money for some time. How am I going to do that? How am I going to pay? So there's no answer to that. I can't say I'll wait, I'll figure out something. I'd have time to figure out. It was just like, should I do it or should I not? And there's no logic behind that. It's just about how much you want it in your life. And it's completely illogical, rational thought to stop whatever you're doing and just do a startup. But till that point, it was a conscious decision. Okay, I'll work on this idea, I'll form a team, we'll work together on something, and we'll build a company around it. So that's how it was.
So you're saying that, and back of your mind, you always knew that you would become an entrepreneur one day, and you incubated an idea in your head and matured it up and then started.
Yes, it is always, so I hear people who stumble on it, and I see people who consciously do it. For me, it was a conscious thing. I used to fantasize So when I was like 9th or 10th grade, like, you know, okay, if I do a company, I think Walrus, I'll do something in microsystems. I don't even know what it was, like what microsystems are. I was just talking random shit. But it was a fantasy, and I had a chance to came here and went out and stuff like that. I had that chance to realize that fantasy. I didn't name my company Walrus, I didn't do anything in microsystems, but there was some fantasy going on behind it. So my uncle, he had a company running. I could see how he was working, and there was some sort of coolness attached to it. And but later, you know, things become serious, and in reality, it's a completely different story. But that started it off.
Great, thanks for that, Aditya.
So for me, I never actually thought about what I do.
Yeah, at 12 I can imagine.
But I always found it really fascinating that a lot of the people that I like, a lot of companies that I like Google and stuff, they're all started by people who just did it for fun, and now they're doing something great. They're changing the world. They're actually doing that, and I really found that fascinating. And apparently, we came up with this little idea, and this idea is something that people started loving, and which grew into a product now. So this company very gradually just started because people actually liked it. And now that we think of it, now that I think of it personally, I feel that it is the best thing that I've done, because I can actually wake up at any time, as I was telling you, and go to work. So that's the best thing. And another best thing is that I get the freedom to make anything that I want. Tomorrow, if I wake up and I feel that I want to make a drone, I want to sell it, I can actually go ahead and do it. And this freedom of idea that I get is something that's more important. So that's how it works.
Professor Rao, have you ever been an entrepreneur in your life?
This very difficult question. Still, I am answering, trying to find the answer. Because when we look at the session, employee versus entrepreneur, it is titled. But for me, it is both employee and entrepreneur. Because my role as an employee of IIT Guwahati, I do my academic job, and also the other aspects, I'll also look into what are the issues involved with entrepreneurship. So of course, I am an accidental entrepreneur because I thrown my ideas at many people, nobody was there to buy it. Then I thought, okay, let me plunge into it. So that is how it happened, and of course I am enjoying that part also. Of course, if you are as an entrepreneur, if you plunge into, you have only one role to play. Here, in my situation, it is a slightly difficult thing because an academic where it is exactly opposite to your entrepreneurship. So how to manage both? So that's balancing both the acts is very important thing. But whatever the experience I have, of course, if I want to term myself within this hall, I call it as I am an accidental entrepreneur. By accident, I entered into this entrepreneurship. But there are very good points of plunging into entrepreneurship, which I will share during the course of the discussion.
Aditya, I'm sorry, I'm going to run this train from this side, okay, again. So, when you talk about this entire thing around thinking, doing, selling, and I already asked this question to Nirman because I just couldn't retain my patience. I think that for a lot of entrepreneurs, the thinking part and the doing part probably comes easier because they already have that ideation, they already have that vision in their mind of what their end product could probably look like. Okay, but I find selling a very difficult job for the cerebral types, which I'm assuming all of you are. Aditya, what did you enjoy most in this journey, and which was most difficult?
So yes, the selling part, the building the company part, it was more difficult because out there it's just not you. If just the thinking part, you're just sitting in a room, you're thinking and you're doing whatever you want to do. There's a lot of freedom around it. But when it comes to the real world scenario where you have to build a company, You have to convince people working for you. You have to convince investors to put money in you. You have to do all that. You have to sell your product to customers. Obviously, it's not smooth. Whatever you have in your mind, maybe it's not what the customer has in mind. So there's a mismatch. You have to try to, it's called, product fit to the market. All that stuff. So, but the good part is it's challenging. It has given me a lot of sleepless nights. I ended up talking to a lot of interesting people. So it was all first time for me. It was the first time I was doing that, and I had no clue. I had no clue how to reach out to customers. Customers in the US, what doing? It was a big question mark. But in the whole process, I learned so much. I interacted with so many interesting people. I couldn't have had that sort of experience with just me sitting in a room. So yes, I love that part of thinking, innovating, sitting in a room, taking a blank paper, coming up with ideas. But the real value creation happens only when you go out and try to do something with it and work with it. So I think that's it's easy part is this, the tough part is that. It's up to you. I think I love both. It shouldn't be just one. Then you're on your own dream world. So it's two sides of the same coin.
Nirvan, you want to go for it?
So this really cool thing that it just struck me right now is I was talking to you about all these three parts, and one of the part which we didn't discuss well was the manufacturing, where you actually make the product. And this really cool thing happened. So my company, we build a tangible product, and it is a whole box. It is a kit for school kids. Now, to make that kit, we need people to build and assemble that. Now, we had 500 of those at first. So we were like, okay, this is the first slot. The first batch was 500 kits. We had them assembled. So anyone needed, we just gave it away. And one day, we get a call saying that a school needs 8,000 kits. Now, we don't know what to do because we had like 500 and we can't tell them no. So I was like, okay, yes, we'll do 8,000. That's very smaller number. I was like, okay, 8,000, we'll do it. Okay, and now we had no clue how to do it. We didn't have money for to get people and start assembling it. And then we did something really cool. What we did was, instead of setting up the assembly somewhere outside, somewhere near the outskirts or something, we set it up at our houses. Not that our parents sat down to assemble it, but in our houses what happened was that we live in a society, and in our society there are what we view very negatively. There are a lot of aunties living, around us, who comment on the works that we do, who actually love us so much that they also follow us on Facebook and put up comments that we all know about. Right?
Did you mean that in a nice way or a bad way?
So apparently, what we did was we called them up. We were like, okay, from a lot of them who stayed in that area, they didn't have much work to do. What they did was the whole day they had their duties to fulfill, and after that they read books or they just watched movies and a lot of these things. We called them up. We were like, okay, why don't you come up here? You can have a little chit chat with all the other aunties in the society. So come to my place, have a little chit chat with them. We have like little music for you, and then you can have breakfast and snacks and everything. And while doing that chit chat, why don't you pack up our kids? So we had a room full of aunties from the area around us who were packing kits for us, and apparently indirectly telling us that what you're doing, you're not doing a job, you're doing entrepreneurship, and what you're doing is really cool, and we are actually helping you in that. So although they don't comment that, but they actually helped us with that, and that's how we actually got our manufacturing of 8,000 kits to be done for free.
Somehow I take that story a little negatively because I think it's the corn job of the century on a group of middle-aged ladies.
No, the idea is to actually interact with people. As I was talking with you, when I went out, when I was in my hometown, I wasn't doing much. When I went out, I realized that the more I interact with people, the more I talk to them, people around me, they affect my ideas. They affect the way I think, and they affect the way I will do something in my life, right? So if I interact with more people, if I have more opinions, if I have more views, I can understand how everyone thinks. I can understand my place in the society, and with that philosophy, we had all of them to gather and do something productive while gathering up, and not just chit chat. So that's how we brought it up.
It's a good story. It's a good story.
Yes.
Professor Rao, are you done?
Yes.
So Professor Rao, I just probably skew that question a little bit for you. One is, in your previous answer, you were saying that you did put in a lot of your products up for IT and ITR and all that, and probably someone didn't pick it up, or no one picked it up. The question here is, one, therefore, again, the balance between thinking, doing, and then selling, or thinking, creating, and then selling. Was there something wanting there from your personal perspective? And the second is, because you're an academician, and a technical academician at that, is there something that we can do to actually equip this group of very enthusiastic children? Sorry, but you are. About attaining that skill that they can, so that, because of the aptitude that they have, they are obviously very good at thinking and doing, but what is it that we can equip them with in terms of a skill to make them better sellers? So if you can, so there's a part A and a part B for you, sir.
So, when I, as an academician, when I see, so as she was mentioning me, we say, okay, you read the things, you read in more detail, and you have to do this assignment, all those things. When it comes to the entrepreneurship, you have to believe in you and in your idea that I would like to make it successful, and there are no compromise paths for that. I have to work very hard, and I have to dream my idea and work towards achieving the goal. So in that direction, see, some of the ideas, as Aditya was telling, they are more like fantasy. When you are sitting, just lying on your bed in the hostel, you feel that suddenly now he introduced Aditya got 90 crore, you will be thinking 200 crore. And see, of course, for entrepreneurship, money is important. That's one of the things where we take the risk to get the finance. But apart from that, it's more important to create the value. So to create the value, one of the important aspect is you have to identify the uniqueness in you and in your idea before going into the entrepreneurship. So what is unique in me and what is unique in my idea to start the entrepreneurship. So once you identify that, suppose if somebody asks you what is those two uniquenesses in you, then if you are ready to answer those questions, I think you can plunge into entrepreneurship and start looking into it.
I have to add upon that, when I personally talk about the things that we make, we're just selling like pencil and paper put in a box, right? But that's not what it's about. When we do a business, or when we build circuitries, it wasn't about the product, I feel that it's never about the product. It's about, as I was telling you, why we said what we said. It's about the reason behind making that product that sells. So when we talk about circuitries, it is about actually encouraging kids, encouraging their creativity, and helping them push their thinking forward. So when we do that, it isn't about what we're giving them. It's about why we're giving them what we're giving them. So each time someone purchases a kit, or each time someone buys something from circuitries, they're not buying the pencil and the paper inside that box. They're actually buying our vision. And that is what, as you said, builds a company. So,
thanks for that. Aditya, this question especially pertains to you. Okay? So I'm going to give a little bit of a background to this question. My belief, and yesterday, when I was at the Northeast Entrepreneurship Forum the whole day, one of the things I heard was that was around the difficulty of being an entrepreneur, around the social acceptability of being an entrepreneur. Obviously Aditya is at the level where with 90 crores in your bank, everybody will say that you look handsome, you sing well, and you do everything else right. But, let's just keep that point aside. And therefore, Aditya, you need to answer this question, perhaps keeping yourself, you're a good-looking lad yourself with lots of money in the bank. So maybe you should just keep your personal persona behind when you answer this question. So I'll take it through my own personal journey. So I was not a bright student. you know, obviously. That's why I'm sitting where I am. But after I finished my BSc, I wanted to go in for, so earlier than that, I wanted to study law, okay, when I was in high school. And then my mother came and told me, and imagine this is a Nair family where there's a strong matrilineal line and all that. And my mother came and told me, you can't be studying law. And I said, why not? And she said, nobody will marry you. Who wants an argumentative wife? So I tried my best, okay? Not that not becoming a lawyer made me any less argumentative. I'm sure my husband can vouch for that. But the point is, so I didn't do that. So then, like every other nice Nair girl from my clan, you know, what do I do after BSc? You can't go for MBA, you've got to do an MSc. You know, what's the point of a BSc? Equal to SSc, you know. So I went in and I preferred physical chemistry actually. And my mother came in and said, physical chemistry? That's people with 62% who get in. You know, you've got more than that. Look, it sounds better to say my daughter has MSc organic chemistry, okay? So I went and did organic chemistry. After I finished my MSc in organic chemistry, they kind of let me be, saying that, you know, okay, so she didn't become an engineer, she didn't become a doctor, so at least she's an MSc in organic chemistry. You know, slightly better in the marriage market and all that. Then I went, it was then that I really had my personal wings come up and do my MBA and then go the way I wanted, okay? Now, I can't think, in my space, you know, I'm 1970 born, in my space, I can't think of parents of educated girls doing well to be married off to an entrepreneur. Okay? Because if mothers and parents were ambitious for their own daughters to be, you know, educated in the streams that are supposed to be scientifically or intellectually challenging, they would rather have an IIT, IIM boy who's working with who's an investment banker in, you know, in another planet and so on. So Aditya, you are young, okay? Let's leave your personal persona for the reasons that I specified before. But how easy do you think? Does the world accept you as an entrepreneur and accept that you're doing something worthwhile before the recognition and the money comes in? Or is that a personal struggle? Because for a lot of us, our visiting card is, you know, is an entry to a lot of doors. But when that visiting card is of a new organization, does it open adequate number of doors? Do you have the social respectability at that point in time? Not now.
Right. No, I completely agree with you on this point. Forget marriage, I didn't get a girlfriend.
So the 90 crores change that?
Yeah, so there is a social stigma attached to it. I think it all depends. It all comes to like, do you really want to face all of that and still do it? I think that's the bigger question to answer for yourself. That yes, the reality is that yes, it's hard. Yes, you will have a lot of sleepless nights. You won't have money. It's absolutely, it's not a glamorous life. For 1 year, I didn't earn any salary. I was sleeping on a mat on the floor, sleeping almost like 2 hours a day. That's it. It's definitely not the life that you would love to have after graduating from university. But I want to do it. That's what I wanted. I loved it so much. The challenges that running a company gives you. Everything else was like what people are thinking about me. So I used to go to meet investors with just, I used to have this like really long hair, t-shirt. So I used to have this like wardrobe where I used to put my hand and whatever used to come out, I just used to wear that. Just go talk to people about what we are doing as a company. So it all comes down to how you project yourself in your mind and everything else is noise. How badly you want to do it, and are you ready to take on the whole world with what you want to do? And thankfully, in my case, I had a support system from my parents. The extended family know. People like, yeah, why is he leaving job? He has a good job. When you get married, keep doing this. What if this fails? What happens? What will happen to you guys? Who will look after you? blah 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 blah. But my parents are like very supportive in that. So it just took me 1 hour to tell them, hey, I'm quitting my job. It was on a Sunday, I didn't remember. I'm quitting my job. I know if I don't do it now, I don't know if I will do it. Even if this day passes, I don't know if I'll have that much courage to again do this. So I'm going to do it. I'm not going to think. It's a 1 hour discussion. They're like, yeah, fine, go do it. We'll take care of whatever happens. And on Monday, I quit my job. And it's after that. So you have to build the support system. Your fellow entrepreneurs also are a support system. When you're going through a bad phase, the only people who can understand you is somebody who's also in a similar situation. So build a support system that will sustain you through the highs and lows, and rest, have fun. I think this is good.
Nirman, don't look very hopeful. That question is not for you. Professor, I'll come to you, but with another question, because we've all passed that phase, and we don't have a 90 crores, which changes everything. But Professor, there is this debate in terms of saying that there requires to be passionate person, acquiring any risk-taking ability, whatever it is. And there is this huge debate around, are entrepreneurs born, or do they make themselves into entrepreneurs because of the lineage of their interests? So as an academician, what is your thought? And I know that yours would be very pure thought because you're not really a business manager teacher, you're a technology teacher. So it would be very interesting to know your viewpoint in terms of, can this be a skill that you can make students learn or make people learn? Or is it something that they're born with? What are your thoughts?
Given jobs for many people, and also you have created an ecosystem where new generation of entrepreneurs will come. So in that way, it is essentially this is the skill which you learn over time. It is not, there is no standard algorithmic step. You just follow, Aditya followed these steps, and I will also follow that step. I will become a great entrepreneur. When you read any of these successful entrepreneurs, of course, just Rashmi Bansal's books, if you read, you will come to know each entrepreneur journey is unique. So, of course, they are all reached a deep point where, okay, enough is enough, I'll hang out my shoes and look for a job. But suddenly something else will come out and they create the value. Once you create the value, then things will change.
I'll just move into a topic which is of interest to many entrepreneurs and also is of interest to me. I'll go for you first on this question, and that is finance. Okay, a knowledge around finance and a sound financial background. I think both of them are some things that we look, it's not necessary, but some things that we look at as necessities before we actually go into, before we plunge into starting our own enterprise. How did you get the funds for your first company or to launch your first product? What was your first service?
So, very, very primarily when we were research. So, we started in a very unique manner. What happened was that we were invited to a Fab 10 conference in Barcelona, where we had to present a little workshop where we taught people to make something new. Now I myself being a software guy, I love making software, and the co-founder of my company being a hardware guy, we thought of very complex ideas like make a Google Class. We'll teach people how to make a Google Class. We'll teach people how to make a tablet. But we knew that, no matter how much we convince ourselves, it's not going to happen. People are not going to learn how to make a tablet in like the next 1 hour. So we wanted to make something simple. We want to boil down those complex circuits into simple ideas. And that's how Circuitrix was born, where we drew out our circuits. It was a very, very, very simple idea. So we go there and we present it to all the people. We like teaching them how to make circuits and everything. And there we meet one of an investor who likes the idea. And but then nothing happened. We met her, we talked to her, but nothing happened. Then we came back to India and we had like 5,000 rupees from our pockets. We're using that to develop the simple science idea that we had.
How long did that last? 5,000 as well?
Yeah, it didn't last long. But it lasted enough for us to make a very simple prototype because our products are very cheap. cheaply made. Not cheaply.
The cat is out of the small bag.
So it didn't require as much production cost. So 5,000 was enough, and we kind of had our first prototype ready. That was a wooden box, very heavy and stuff, but it was cool. And then we sent the pictures to the lady we met there, and then she got interested. She asked us for a few videos of how it works and everything, and then we had an interaction with her. Ending up with a very small seed amount of 3 lakhs, but it was enough for us to make the amount of products we needed. And then we started to make more and more and more, and now we have a little amount of money with us that we do not need funding for us.
So did you ever get into debt?
Oh no.
See, that's a great story. Maybe that is possible in
In
Ahmedabad.
fact, we didn't get into debt, but what happened on a very funny side was that there was a school, and I'm pretty sure I don't want to mention the name, but there was a school, and we went there, right? And we did, it was the first circuitrix workshop in India, so we go there ourselves and be like, okay, this is how you do the thing. You know, you make the circuits, you draw the circuits this way, and we got all the materials for the kids. When we were going, we give them the invoice. The invoice was of 4,000. Okay, and we were like, okay, this is the invoice, you can have it, and pay us that. And they were like, we can't pay you. And that was the most weird moment because we had no clue what to do. Like, they're our first customers, right? It was a huge international conference. It's a big school, and they tell us we can't pay you, and we're like, you have to. But apparently we had discussions there. They wanted us to cut down costs somewhere, and that is where we went in debt. But it wasn't like a huge debt.
No, but when I said debt, I meant debt to a financial institution.
Oh, no.
So that's never happened.
Oh,
that's
how it happened.
I'm sure your story is different. Is it?
Yeah, it is. So in our case, unlike his story where it was a manufacturing thing and all that, ours was a software, and all you needed was like people sitting and working on their phone laptops. There was very less money involved, at least in the early days. Whatever is required, like domain name and server costs and all that stuff, used to come from whatever savings that me and the other founder had. Because I did a job for 2 years before I quit and did the start. So whatever money during that time I had, that was okay. That was enough for us to sustain just the 3 of us in building the product. But to hire somebody else, we needed money. And that's when we went to investors and said, like, you know what, we have this product, there are customers, you're using it already. We want to grow fast, so we want your money. And I ended up talking to almost like 40, 50 investors, and then the problem with us was it was too technical for other investors to understand and to see the potential of it. But there was one guy who was himself a developer, turned investor, had money, he understood what we were doing, he saw the potential, he was ready to put in money, and that's how we ended up with some money, and we built our team. We had people joining us from Google, from Amazon, from when we were supposed to join Google, and we could convince them to join us. So that money helped in that way. In terms of debt, no. Personally, yes. Not as a company. That's all.
So, then I think that the world has moved on, or at least our country would have moved on. I remember reading this somewhere where, the Infosys case study, where Narayan Murthy wanted some loan, and he apparently went to Bank of Maharashtra, and they refused to give him 1 lakh or 2 lakhs or something like that. And then he borrowed it from his wife. And today, I guess his net worth is more than Bank of Maharashtra. But, who knows? That was just a blind statement that I made. But I'm sure that he'll be close if he's not surpassed it. But it's great that you didn't have to proactively go to a financial institution and seek money. You had enough angel investors or people who were interested in your product and, actually invest there.
So I think that's what has changed in the last decade, that everything is set. If you go 10 years back, you really have to, maybe you would have gone to a bank and asked for a loan because nobody's ready to put in money in your company, or you would have to go ask your parents for money or your own money. Right now the situation is money is like there. People are ready to put in money in ideas that are really worth. You don't have to work. All you need to do is like find the right idea, or solve the right problem and sell it to the right market, people are ready to invest in you. So there was a time when I entered a pitch session, and so the sessions are normally like startups pitching to investors. In that room, there are more investors than the startups. So that realization hit me that hey, India is in a place where like the demand supply, the demand of startup, new startups coming in versus the money that's already is ready to be invested. The demand, the supply is very less, where the demand is really high. So to have a good idea, it's the right time to start. There's absolutely perfect time.
Great, thanks. Professor, I come to you with a different question actually. So in one of the suggested questions that came to me from, see, this is the problem with IIT, any IIT. They assume that everybody else's RAM speed is the same as theirs. And I got the agenda of some questions that need to be asked 5 minutes after I came here. Okay. And they thought that I was able to process it. Listen guys, there are people who are not from IITs as well. And the RAM speed there is quite low, so you need to give it time. So I'm going to that list of questions that were actually suggested. So you are employed, and so am I. I think work for some time. What is it? What is really better? Is it job or anything?
So it depends on the individual. So that's I personally believe, because what passions you more, what passions you most. So based on that, you should identify. You should sit quiet and listen to your inner voice. So if you feel that yes, I am fit for entrepreneurship, I think you should start the journey. On the other hand, if you feel that no, I would like to create value as an employee, then you can take that direction. So because you cannot forcibly push yourself into a domain where you may not be interested. Okay, you cannot ask Sachin Tendulkar to crack IIT JEE. Okay. It's a wrong thing to do. Same thing, an IIT professor cannot become Sachin Tendulkar by playing cricket. So the domains are different. So in the same way, entrepreneurship, if you are, any profession you take, whether you are an employee or an entrepreneur, if you never feel like you are working, then I think that is the right path you are taking. And for example, Aditya mentioned it is, even I experienced that when I started the company, that we hardly slept for 2 hours, 3 hours per day. But we have to get up and start working because we have to finish the product and deliver it to the customer. So but the thing which supports you is your interest. Okay, see, I want to create something and I want to take it to the destiny. So that if you have passion and interest in that, I think along that direction you should proceed forward, whether it's an employee or entrepreneurship. If you are interested in entrepreneurship, you throw yourself, but ask yourself internally what you want to do. But of course, in Indian scenario, we are mostly binded by what parents put the boundary, the first level. So in IIT or whatever the education take, you take a job and settle down. Or teachers also say you will take a job, and it depends on you. If you feel that there is something unique thing which I want to develop, that is what is the inner voice is telling, then you should go to the entrepreneurship. Of course, if you are an employee also and you have ways to add value to that, that is also fine. That is fine.
When you, Aditya, this question is to you actually. So when you decided, and this is one of the questions that's come from this group, so obviously I'm sure that this is an overriding emotion here. So when you went in and started your own piece after you were working, what was the overriding emotion? I want to be super rich, or I want to be my own boss? What was it? Or did you think, do I need job security on the other hand? So was it the super rich bit, or
no, it was never.
That you hated your boss?
No, so I mean, when I was a kid, like 10th class or 11th or 12th, or even when I came to IIT for 2 years, I want to be really rich. I want to do all the stuff that they showed in the TV and stuff. But later I realized that's that's not the right reason to get into doing a startup. Because it's not. If you wanna be rich, if you wanna earn money, startups are the worst place. Because more than 95% of the startups fail. So if you're thinking that I want to be rich, I'll do a startup, that's not the right thing. Because eventually maybe you won't click and you will be poorer than you are. So then you feel bad. Like why did I do it? So I don't think that's the right thing. The reason should be like, I want to learn something very fast. For example, in my case, so before doing the startup, I was good at design. I was good at thinking about ideas and all that stuff. I was not a public speaker. I could speak sometimes, but not like eloquently and stuff. When I started, so I learned how to speak well. I've made presentations which are really good. This all happened because I started talking to investors. I figured out, okay, this is how it works. I figured out how to do financial stuff for the company because there was nobody else who's doing it. It's not me. I've learned that so now I can. I just don't have a degree, but I completely understand how to make a P&L statement, how to everything related to accounting, particular firm. I've interacted with lawyers. I know what laws are governing companies and stuff. How acquisitions happen. Now I'm helping other startups who are in a similar phase, like what's the process of getting acquired and which stage are you in and stuff like that. So within 1 year, I could learn all of this, and I don't think any course in this world will give you that opportunity. Just the learning is enough. Everything else is bonus. That's how I think, and that's how everybody should think that way, because that's how actually it is. Everything else is bonus. What you learn is with you. Everything else is just it's a byproduct. And other thing is that value creation. That yes, I have built something that is useful and is affecting somebody in a good way. That sort of value creation and the satisfaction that you get out of it is amazing. It's just nothing can match it. Like, get it, team to build it, and constantly you're working on it. It's out and somebody is using it, and somebody tells you that, hey, this is good, thanks for it, and that's your job is done. Nothing can match that. I think those are the right things to do.
So it's not necessary that you be super rich. That's the story there. I'll come to you, Norman. I've given you a little bit of a breather for about 5 minutes. Now we'll come to you. So normally when you, I know that you're really young, but you've got 2 companies, so that kind of supersedes your age at this point. So do let me know if this question you don't want to answer. But the point is, if you go to a formal organization, a proper corporate, you've got various methods of measuring their own performance. And I'm not talking about performance appraisals of people. I'm talking about performance appraisals of the organization in general, right? So do you have a particular formal method of doing that, or you just look at how much money did I make and say that I'm successful?
One way we measure the way we feel that we are reaching out to more people is that we're reaching out successfully to more people. Is that at the very start when we started the company, we went to schools, we did workshops, and the kids were really happy with that. After that, at a point, now what happens is when I look at, I just am looking at my Facebook page, the Facebook page of Circuitrix, and there comes up a randomly pops up a picture of kids who are happy holding a Circuitrix kit. I don't even know that at some school someone is actually incorporating this idea in their school to help the kids. That is the feeling that we get, that we really love, and that is one way that we very informally judge our work that we do. But on a very, very formal note, we do have the analysis that we do about sales. We do analyze our markets, because there are new products that we want to launch. We do analyze how the market will behave, because the first product that we launched, that was completely unexpected, and market did not behave the way we thought, because what we were doing was a simple science experiment. Yes, and market actually loved that. So now we have started to forecast and predict, the mindsets of the market that we actually target and their mindsets. And now that we kind of am slowly, gradually understanding their mindsets, we are kind of bringing up products that can actually fit them. So these are the kind of brainstorming sessions, although we are a startup and we have brainstorming sessions at a coffee shop, but we do have them, and we are as serious as any other corporate company.
Brilliant. I mean, I just think that you are, by yourself, are ahead of your time. So, God bless you. That's a fantastic answer. Sir, Professor Rao, so you've done entrepreneurship, and I know that this is one of the last questions that I'm going to tackle before I come to you. But you've done both, have a company and then come to entrepreneurship and so on. How would you envisage that, a startup, when they are not making money, how do they really measure their own performance? And then when they start making a little bit of money but not being profitable, how does that scorecard for them change? Does that scorecard necessarily need to change in terms of its parameters? How does it build, do you have any thoughts around what should they necessarily look at in the first few years of the startup?
So when we look into the startup, of course, everybody goes with a dream that I will bring up this product in few months, and at the end of 1 year I will have a lot of money in the account. But the story from the external world is entirely different. Most of the cases, what happens is when you present your ideas, because the thought process of the investor may not match with your thought process. And also they are from the market side. They know what exactly will fit into the current trends in the market. But you are, that idea or product what you are developing is only your baby. Naturally you will have so much affection with that. So with that you feel that if somebody gives a upright comment that this is not good and this is not selling in the market, you get disheartened, and that is where most of the people will say, okay, at the end of 1 year we'll close the shop. But what is important is from the feedback. If it sells, it is fine, but otherwise the feedback given by the external environment is the most important thing. That will shape the next version of the product. And if you think that with the time your product is improving, and you will find a day where you can really sell that product, and after that you will start making the money. And if you are able to hold on to that time, rough weather, typically it takes about 3 to 5 years. If you are able to hold on to that rough weather, I think you should be able to make enough money and also value to the system. But of course, it may, in certain cases, it may happen well ahead of it. But I think money is, as I'm mentioning, it's the most important commodity in the entrepreneurship. But more than that, the idea, unique idea, and the quality of your product, and how with reference to time you are changing, adding value to that product will keep you improving yourself, and the organization will grow with reference to that.
Thank you, Professor. Last 2 minutes, I'll just give it to you. Are there any thoughts on the scorecard that you use in the first phase of your startup, and then in the mature phase, and so on and so forth?
In terms of measuring it, how it's going and stuff. So it evolves on a daily basis. I mean, I think it's what's today, tomorrow, it's good something. I can see an incremental change. In the early days, we were like still trying to figure out the market and stuff, and we were immature a little bit when we went to meet customers and stuff. But we learned over a period of time, and in the later stage, so it's just like one of the philosophies that I have is that a company is more like a person. It has its own set of the evolution process. Like with the early days, it's like a teenager who doesn't know what it's doing. After some time, it starts getting more mature, like an adult, it starts to behave like an adult. So companies are like that, and just be a part of it. So I think we did a good job of it. The other side of it, like what the other questions that sometimes comes up in our minds or people ask us is that what would have happened if you said no to that exposition and you're still running your company. So maybe then it could still be like a normal day. met customers, sold the product, come back, meet the team, sit on like, okay, what some features should we need to add to the product, and maybe it's the weekend party with the team and stuff. So that's usual.
So,
We haven't closed, sorry, go ahead.
yes, I'd also like to add to that. As he like personified a company, one of the things that we have is that when we talk about competition, let's say, we were very negatively sometimes. When competition is in terms of exams and this and that, we think that okay, everyone's unique, but that's not going to happen in a company. So when we talk about growth, that is the thing that we as a company take something really seriously, because there's everyone doing something. And as I told you, when we try to predict a market, we're not just thinking about the next product that we're going to launch. We're thinking about the next to next product that we're going to launch, because that once that is out of your way, you know that you are secured for the next 3 years. And I'm pretty sure that Aditya very, very casually has put it up, but even he is like, he would have been really competitive when it come to discussions like these. So that is one thing.
Thanks. We're not closing this panel here, but I'm opening the panel to all of you, for your questions, observations, etc. Yes, sir. Do you need a mic, or why don't you just try speaking up?
Ma'am, one question. Aditya and
You'll have to say who it is meant for. Is it meant for Aditya?
both of them.
Okay.
When you had investors, you might have made a mistake in your startup. Some or the other point, you might have made a mistake, and then your investor might have said, "Okay, what is this mistake worth?" So how did you handle that time?
So apparently, it is like, let's say your teacher gives you a project to do, and you kind of make a mistake. So if you make a mistake, you don't tell the teacher you made the mistake.
No, apparently he comes to know of it.
Yes,
You have a mistake, then how do you handle that?
Well, what happened with us was that we kind of when we took the finance, we had the one aspect really clear, that a part of it will be used for development and research, and development and research is meant to be failed. And as long as we had that cleared our way out, we never really had this portion where we had failed. But I'm pretty sure that failure is a part of business, and anyone who invests in your business understands that. That's why they invest. So yes, you might have a very heated argument, but after all, if he or she is investing, they know it's not.
So means you told them in advance like there will be some sum of money that might go into that might be flushed in our R&D. So it was already pre-told to them, investors, right?
In fact, yesterday, Aditya, you were there at that time when there was a gentleman called Ashish Kulkarni who had his own animation company, and then he sold it off to Reliance for some huge amount of money. But before that, he required some $20 or $30 million to set up something in his company, and he reached out to investors outside of India, and they went through his entire case study and all that, and they thought that they would like to invest. But before they did that, they sent a clinical psychologist from North America all the way to India to spend a week or two with this gentleman, okay, to see if he had tasted failure before. And he said that had I not told him the truth, that I've tasted many failures, he said I wouldn't have made it, because they said that the project that I had taken upon myself was so significantly large that they wanted to know how resilient I was to failure, whether I would be able to get up, dust my back and walk ahead even if I failed in that. So I just think that a lot of mature investors do not expect it to be a smooth ride at all. And I'm sure that they will, in the case of an entertainment company, if they do that, I'm sure that for many other evolved businesses, they would be even more diligent in terms of saying whether, are you resilient to both success and failure? Because both are equally destructive to certain people.
I think what we need to understand is that investors are human beings. They're not somebody like, some sort of a different species or anything like that. They're human, and they have similar emotions, they have similar insecurities, they think like us. what essentially should happen is find an investor that suits. It's like as good as finding a girlfriend that you would like to spend time with, right? Because you don't want a nagging person behind your back when you're in stress. Because running a company, there are stressful times, there are happy times. Happy times, everything is good. When things are bad, that's when the real people come out. So you don't want to be an investor who doesn't, the payment doesn't match with you. So it's not like, everyone, like money, some investor is investing, let's take the money. I don't think that should be the case. You should talk to the investors, sit with them, understand what his expectations are before taking money. After taking money also, if there are some mishaps happen, obviously they're bound to have mistakes happen. Sit, discuss, get into a room, be transparent, discuss, hey, this is what has happened, this is what it is, this is what we're going to do to make it right, help us. And they'll help you. They invested in you to be a part of your journey, right? And they'll be there to help you. So it's just picking up the right person to work with. That's it.
So,
Thank you for the question.
So, just to add on that, investors, like what I felt is that they don't usually just invest in the product and the company. They invest in you as a person, in your ability to adapt to change, and that is what I felt. And for larger investors, that has been what has been true. So.
A lot of other things don't really happen as per our expectations. Okay, I mean, just keep yourself agile and flexible. That's what is most important. Let me tell you my personal experience. Between me and my husband is a freelancer. I don't know whether I can call him an entrepreneur, but he's a cinematographer. There's no other way he can be. He's got to be a freelancer. And he also has a little equipment company where he rents his high-end cameras to, for movie shoots and for ad shoots and so on and so forth. The thing between us is he is happy with not knowing where his next check is going to come from. Okay, he is happy with the fact that for 4 months we don't see each other at all because he's really busy on projects, and for the next 2 months he's just around, just driving me nuts. Okay, and unaware of where that check is going to come from. That's fine for him because he realizes, his satisfaction comes from the creativity that he brings forth, right? For me, I'm a person who likes predictability. I'm a person who hates uncertainty. There's enough uncertainty and ambiguity in corporate life as it is. Okay? I remember being on a career break for 1 year, okay, and it was a conscious break. I was not on a sabbatical, I was actually on a career break, so not doing anything. And I had withdrawal symptoms. You know what I missed the most? The SMS that came to me on the 31st of every month that my salary got credited to my bank. I used to be really crabby, during the last week of the month and the first week of the month because I was thinking that I was, dipping into my reserves, and there was nothing that was reinforcing and going into the account. And I realized that, I would go crazy if I didn't have anything to do. I don't think I minded not doing anything, but I think I minded the fact that I didn't have money coming in. Okay. So I think you need to see what it is that brings you your personal happiness. Okay. However, to any youngster, I would always say, before you take any risky plunge, sit on the fence and watch when the fish comes out of the pond. Okay? And I think the best way to do it is to be employed elsewhere. Okay? In an organization of your choice, which is preferably very much in sync with what you want to start later on. Okay? Make your money. I'm not so sure, because many times students, from the days of penury, when you go into a job, you all are just spendthrifts for the first year. Okay, so don't think you're going to save anything for the first year. But I think 3 years is a good time for you to just wait and watch and see whether the ideas that you had in your mind, whether that's exactly the idea that you want to go with, or have your preferences changed, has your priority changed? Not preference in terms of whether you want to become an entrepreneur or not, but preference in terms of which line would you choose in entrepreneurship, the second or the third level of detail. And I would think then take the plunge, because you also have that time. A lot of you who think of becoming entrepreneurs, probably in 1 year's time would think that no, I want to become a bureaucrat, or I want to go in for further education or just do research. You never know, at 19, 20, 21, you can't really decide for the rest of your life because, paths change subsequently. But I would certainly think, go to work. Sometimes you are just paranoid of the fact that all this while I've been my own boss because I'm a student and I do as I wish. Okay? And I'm paranoid about the fact that I may not be able to live in a disciplined, structured world. When you want to bunk the class, you bunk the class. You can't do that really at work. And sometimes I think students think I want to be my own boss because I don't know whether I can live in that structured world. You'll be amazed. Entrepreneurship is not all that unstructured. Okay? At least here, you can keep your work for tomorrow. I think in entrepreneurship, you've got to be far more structured in your thought than you are in the corporate world. Here you think that a boss is the person who probably will constrain you. In the entrepreneurship world, you find a lot of other things that constrain you. So find your balance, okay? Remember that for every Salman Khan, Shah Rukh Khan and Amir Khan, that there are 2,000 other strugglers, okay, whose face and name we never get to know. And they are living a life of absolute misery when it comes to monetary benefits, but probably they have their satisfaction in the form of the creative bits that they do either by being in theatre or something else. So choose your own path and always, please always have a plan B and a plan C. Yeah? And get a good wife stroke husband, I'm telling you. Because in this journey, you certainly require someone to have one stable income in the family. Okay? I'm giving you a very practical point of view into this rather than talking to 22-year-olds and saying go for your dream, and I don't want you guys to beat me after 10 years saying that you sold it to me and it was the biggest screw up of my life. Okay? So take that time, think about it. For every Aditya, there may be 10 people who've probably not made leave 90 crores, but probably 99 crores. Okay, so sit down and then stretch your legs. You know what will happen if you stretch your legs before you sit down, right? You're going to fall on your butt, right? So I think that's the piece that I Professor Rao, just, sorry, all the questions came from two of you, Professor Rao, and he just got this chance.
Yeah. But fortunately mentioned this question is referred to entire panel. So actually this is the question that will be there in everyone's mind. Especially when I see all of you in your mind, that is the main question that will be running in the back of our mind, because it is essentially due to the brought up we have come through, our system, family structure and the care, mentoring from parents and teachers, because of that situation we have this thing in mind. But of course, as she mentioned, you have to be careful about that, but you have to take a call in terms of how to proceed. Okay, of course, if you if you take up a job, but it should always be running in the back of your mind that you are doing some calculations with reference to your entrepreneurship. Something on a daily basis, something is formulating in your mind. The idea is getting more crystallized in a software sense, in soft sense in your mind, and it will take a shape on its own. And as she rightly mentioned, we don't know what we will be after 10 years, especially at the age of 22 or something, when you think destiny will take you there. Of course, these uncertainties will be there in everyone's mind, and we have to go through that. There is no solutions for that. But continuously you have to dream about your idea and formulate in that direction. Every day you add some value to that, and finally it will become a problem.
So I just want to share what happened with me. So when I graduated in 2011, I was in your shoes. I knew I want to do something on my own, but I didn't have a crystal clear path towards that. I had a few ideas. I didn't have a need or anything like that. So what it was, I took up the job opportunity that I had, but I was very conscious that that's not going to consume my complete time. So I was very conscious that, as I was saying, that if I'm doing the job, I'll make sure that I will only give 8 to 9 hours to it, Rest of the time, I'll spend working on what I really want. Work on that idea that I want to build a company on. And when I changed jobs also, I had like 3 options. When I quit my first job and I'm joining the second job, there were 3-4 options, and I picked the one that that pays me well, and also where I don't have to work on the weekends, or I don't have to work after like 6 or 7. There's work, good work, but it's not like that's all what I have. I have to come back from work, relax a little bit, then start working on the idea that I had in my mind. So the kind of balance that you strike, and when I really felt that it's all, now everything is in place, there's a prototype, the team is there, we're seeing good positive response from potential customers. That's when I quit my job and then stayed full time. So you can plan it, it's not something that cannot be planned. It's just that you have to have that, okay, what is that what you really want? And are you ready to make everything work out for what you want?
So, Bandly, I have a completely different argument here. Imagine this, that you're walking on a road, I hope this doesn't happen, and then there's a truck and you're just gone in a minute. It happens in a snap of a time. And at that point in time, we haven't done anything at that point in time. We haven't done anything. So right now, if I think about, if I were at a place and I was to think about getting a job or going for entrepreneurship, it would be to do something that I would remember for the rest of my life. So for example, the hardest time that I had was when I completed school. Everyone in my class was going to college. They were like rushing up for a college. They were like giving exams. Then after college, I'm pretty sure they're already talking about internships and jobs right now. So the thing was that they are doing this, right? Apparently, and I didn't want it to go there. So what I did was I wanted to take a gap year. I wanted to actually settle my mind, realize what I want to actually do, and then go ahead with that. So I took a gap year, and very luckily my parents didn't have any problem with that. So currently I'm not in any college or anything, so I'm just on a gap year. And this has allowed me to understand the fact that we don't know about tomorrow, right? So if and we don't know about tomorrow, and all of our dads and parents and moms and everyone here, all of them are capable enough to sustain themselves. So if you detach yourself from them, yes, if you detach yourself from them, you know that, okay, now you are the only one there. You're completely, totally blunt there. And now you have to do something that you'll remember for the rest of your life. So when a truck hits you, you don't regret that. And if you're there, what I felt is that I started to do things that I loved to. I just took a gap year and I moved to Ahmedabad. That's a new city, completely new city, away from my parents. And now I was just in there with a friend. Yes, and we started a company. And now we're making money, we're making enough to sustain ourselves. So the idea is that, we all know our parents and our relatives and everyone can sustain themselves. So it is to do things that you feel like doing, and don't worry about jobs, security, having money kept aside and all that. Just go ahead with that. Because even if you fail, you are going to die anyways. So even if you fail, that's not gonna affect you. So just go ahead, and then when you're like 80 years old, you'll definitely look back at it and say that, see, that's the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. And if you fail, you're an 80-year-old sitting with the little children and telling them that this is what I did and I failed. You can try it again, something like that. So just go ahead.